Okay, everybody, let's try this one more time. I shot this already, did a bit of a live stream already, and I looked back at the video and it was atrocious. I'm kind of in the headspace for this game, so I wanted to capture some of it. There's not a ton of footage out there about the Alamo. This is the one from Decision Games, originally released by SPI, I think in 1981, 1982. This Decision Games version is 1995. Um, Hopefully the lighting is better. Hopefully you can see things a little bit clearer. I can't zoom in on this camera, so it'll be what it is here. So let's move that out of the way. I'm just about to start game turn 5. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to go through a few things here, and then we will take it through a game turn and see where we stand. So I'm going to be careful with the instructions this time. This is the Alamo, March 6th, 1836, rather, Victory in Death. Because it was a SPI game, the map itself is really nice. I don't know what the original one looked like, if it was exactly like this or if they updated some things for Decision Games. But we'll just go through it again. And for those of you who may be joining that already saw, I'm just going to be talking about the exact same thing I talked about in the previous live stream. This time, much more in focus, much more, a much better lighting, hopefully. So the rule set for this game is fairly short, which is great. Laid out fairly well, I would say. The complaint that I would have, and I think Callendale did a few videos about this game as well too, and the complaint I would agree with him on is kind of the layout of the rules. There's some things that should be in a certain area of the rule set that I'm used to with SPI games that don't seem to be there in this one. Some things kind of moved around that don't quite make sense. So it's not the most intuitive rule set for going back and quickly looking things up. You start to get a feel for it the more that you use it, but it's not a complex game by any standard. I've kind of made it a solo game just by adapting just very, very minor things. And I think the biggest thing that I changed for the solo game version was the setup of the game itself. Pardon me, which we'll talk about in a minute. Let's just take a look at the map itself here. So we have our main play area here. Texans start within the confines. Mexicans start in these areas around the edge that are numbered 1 to 6. We'll talk about that in a second. The Mexican units, even when they get killed and taken off the board, they kind of continue their life, sort of. We'll move the microphone here a little bit. They continue their life on this Mexican replacement track. As they move down the track and get back to the 0 here, they come back onto the board. So it's to signify just kind of the Mexican units. They just keep coming. There's really no stopping them. Obviously, it's designed like that for a reason, historically. So this gives you a bit of a snapshot and gives you an opportunity to try some different things and see if you can, how many victory points you can gain. It's kind of the beautiful thing about some of these, regardless of what the outcome was historically. It's kind of cool to push chits around a map and see how you can fare against kind of this impossible scenario to some degree. You're going to lose. There's really not much that you're going to be able to do to defeat the Mexicans in this game. But it's fun trying it anyway. So then we have the Mexican casualty track here. We have the 1s row, and then we have the 10s row. Excuse me. And then we have the game turn record track. I've laid out the Texan units that were killed in what turn they were killed. The leaders here, the commanders, there's victory points that depend on when that last one was killed. So if my last one is killed in turn 8, then I'm going to get 8 victory points. So that's why I'm kind of laying them out on the top here so I can keep track of who died during what turn. Let's see. Yeah, we're looking up there. Again, apologies for no zoom, but up here we have our terrain and it shows just shows the various terrains, a little bit of a legend. So stone walls, wooden walls, inner walls, etc. Just gives you an idea of what everything looks like. And then here beside it, we have the terrain effects chart. So when you're moving into a hex that is these specific terrains, you might have to add one to your movement point. This next column talks about artillery and where these artillery units can move. So we'll do a little close up. Here's a sample artillery unit. Numbers. This one is a 6 strength. So these have very specific places that they can go. They can't move through doorways, as I had mistakenly done. So I brought it back to its outside here on a later turn once I realized that. So it just kind of lays everything out. Really, really nice. I love it when all of the kind of charts and tables that you need are right on the map themselves. It's something that you don't see all the time, but I find it really handy. And then we have our ever important combat results table. So this game has a little bit of something that's unique here. Let's look at a couple of units. So we'll start with a Texan unit here. So this is a Texan unit that has a, there we go. So that second number, then they're 10, that's its strength. The 2 is its melee, so when it's side by side. And then the top one, that 9, is its, what did they call it again? Sorry, let me just see here. Morale rating. So its morale rating is the important rating when it comes to determining and rolling die what kind of damage you're going to do to these units. So that's just a sample of a Texan one. And then for the Mexican units, we'll take this one right here. For the Mexican units, they only have one number on them, and that number there, 8, that is their morale, that's their strength, that's their melee. They're very, very strong units, so you are going to have a hell of a time getting rid of them, and all of them have that. And then, of course, you have your, let's look at a leader here. So here's a Texan leader, Crockett, with a 3. So when you have a leader stacked with a unit, it gives them that bonus when it comes to determining what kind of damage they've done. You get to that bonus, which again, we'll look at closer once we go through some combat. And then the Mexicans rather have the same thing, with a number of between, I think it's just between 1 and 3. I don't think there's anything higher than 3 for those ratings there, or modifiers rather. So depending on what type of hex terrain you're shooting into, that's where you're going to look. So we have gunslit doorway, church wall, outer wall, inner wall, stone wall, wooden wall, and then if it's clear or a breach. So whatever strength your unit is, you're going to look at the defender, what hex terrain they're on, and then you're going to cross-reference that. And then you roll a d6 and you're going to get one of these results down here. For example, H would just be a hit. C would be a counterattack. A dash would mean that you missed. And if there's a number, a 1, 2, 3, or 4, in this case, a 5 or a 6, that's, a 4 or a 5, that's going to be what you're going to add to your damage roll, basically. And then beside here, the next table, it's just a summary of damage check results. So when you've determined that you're going to make a hit, and once you've determined what your die roll modifier is going to be, if you beat their morale rating by 1, the unit gets disordered. If you beat it by 2, the unit takes a step loss and is disordered. And if you beat it by 3 or more, the unit is eliminated. And it's one thing I didn't actually show here when we looked at this one. So this is the first side. It's strongest side. And then if we take a step down, if it gets hit and gets a step loss, it goes to 7, 5, and 1. So pretty dramatic for some of them that when they do take 1 point of damage or 1 hit of damage. And then these disorder markers, there's a bunch of these that come, so you can put those on the chits themselves to remember who's been damaged. Once a unit is disordered, There's a number of things that happen to them. They can only move half their movement point. They can only fight with half of their strength. They can't actually man the artillery machinery and fire them. So it really limits what they can do for that turn. So obviously the better result is getting them off of the board. But once for example, when I had this battle here, there was a few Texans over here. Once I damaged or hit one of them and made them disordered, the next person that attacks that same unit, you can attack the same unit as many times as you possibly can, depending on line of sight and things, which we'll look at. That'll give you an extra modifier as well. So if I'm attacking a unit that's already disordered, I get to add 2 to my die roll just because they're disordered, which then helps get you closer or quicker to elimination. And then, of course, down here in the corner by the microphone is your sequence of play. So really just nice, again, just having this right in front of you. So you just follow each step as you're going instead of always referring to the book. And then actually not finally, the last thing here, this I found really handy, and I don't know if I have a game with this kind of table on. Let's just move this microphone there. So for this one, it gives you an example of line of sight. So as I talked about before, when it comes to combat, because you're dealing with kind of a 3D structure, they tried to draw it in a 3 dimensions here. It works and it doesn't work. I found it a little confusing. It's a lot easier now once I've kind of gone through a bunch of game turns, but it's not the easiest to decipher map. So this really comes in handy. They have a bunch of chits on a little bit of a board. Each of them are marked. It's actually a snapshot of kind of this corner up here just off screen. They give you a bunch of them, and then there's a table over here where you can reference things yourself. So it gives you some cases and it gives you some general rules about line of sight, but then it also gives you this sight matrix. So if I want to just double check, can A see D? I go to A and I go to D, and it says, no, it's blocked because this is on level 2. So when you're up on the wall itself, you're on the upper level, so level 2. Anything else is down on the ground level. So in this case, this A unit could not see this D unit. Well, also because this D unit is actually inside, which is something I didn't mention. For the wall, there's these doorways as well. So you can be inside the wall here too, and you can shoot out of these gun slits that are here, these 2 kind of dash marks there. So that's why that A unit could not see that D unit, because they're inside the wall. Can A see the B unit? According to this sight matrix, absolutely he can. Even though the A unit is down a level and B is up a level, they can still see each other. In another example, can A see K? K is up here on the second level on this structure, and then A is outside the wall on the ground. And in this case, A cannot see K because of this wall in the way and the distance. So I found it really handy. There's a couple, it doesn't cover every single scenario, but it gives you most of the scenarios that you come across so far when I've been playing. So this is really, really nice to have, just a kind of a reference of something to double check with when it comes to line of sight. And especially if you're playing with another person, that line of sight rule is going to be incredibly important when you're trying to defend or attack. And you want something that you both agree on. What else can I tell you here? Let's bring this up. So that's basically where we stand. As you can see, the Mexicans have really done some damage to the Texans here. They're in the compound. It's kind of, we're getting close. I've pulled a bunch of troops back. They've just retreated, and they formed a bit of a line here to try to kind of make a stand before, to kind of protect these guns for a little bit longer. Use those as a last resort. The guns have unlimited range. Speaking of combat, the guns themselves basically can shoot right across the map as long as they have a line of sight. The units themselves, They only have a range of 7 hexes. They can shoot further, but for every hex further than 7, you subtract 1 from your combat strength. So this 10 unit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I wanted to shoot this guy here, he's 8 away. So that means this 10 would turn into a 9 strength, and so on. And that actually is an alternate rule. That's kind of an advanced thing, because in the kind of main body of the rules, they say that the units can see as far as they want anyway as well, and shoot as long as they want. I don't like that. I like a little bit of limitation. I like that idea of you need to kind of get a little bit closer instead of shooting from one wall to the other wall without any sort of penalty. Just doesn't seem right to me. So that's kind of the basics. So why don't we just run through a game turn? I'm just about to start game turn 5. We'll talk about this in a second here, because the first thing that happens is the Mexican replacement phase. The Mexican player advances his units on the replacement track 1 space towards 0. Units moved from space 1 to space 0 are placed on hexes in the entry area from where each unit's column originally entered the map. So this will give us a chance to talk about a few things here. When the Mexican units are killed or they have to retreat off the board, they'll enter one of these spaces, either space 1, 2, or 3. Again, that idea being that the Mexican forces are just never ending. So as you move them down the track, so in this case, these units are now going to move to 0, which means that they get to come back onto the board. I'll do a little bit of a close-up here, if I can. So there we go. You see they're a 1 line and a 2 line. So those are the columns that they belong to, 1 and 2. At the beginning of the game, to make this solo, step 1 for setting up the game, the Texan player places his artillery. All the artillery has a very specific place that it goes on. That's step 1. All I did was reverse steps 2 and 3. Step 2 is the Mexican player plots his entry areas. And then step 3 is the Texan player places his counters. So what I did was I placed all the Texan counters first around in various areas where I thought they might be best. I sort of stuck to this side and this corner. I didn't have much down here, sort of gambled that at least from here, I'd be able to cover this corner and maybe part of that. And from this, I'd be able to cover here. So I sort of gambled that 6 wouldn't be a spot. Then I went back to step number 2, and all we did was just a die roll. There we go. So what column it is, roll a d6, put the number down, and that's its entry point. There you go. So column 1 entry area is 4. Column 2 is 5, 3 is 1, 4 is 2, and then R is the reserve units. At the beginning of the game, there's a bunch of reserve units that just stay on the side here. Focus again. They just stay on the side here. Once the Mexicans have breached the compound, that's when the Mexican player can declare that they're going to have their units come back in. The next turn, these reserve units are going to come onto the board. So following our legend, column 1 starts in area 4, which is over here. And then column 2 starts in area 5, which is over here. So that's all of these kind of gray, blue type of shaded areas are your starting areas. So that's the gist of that. And I found that worked really well. Just gives a bit of that randomization for a solo game. And then you just kind of take turns back and forth. There hasn't been anything else that's come up for me so far in playing 4 turns where I felt like I needed to randomize anything else. It just becomes putting yourself in the headspace of that particular player and trying to do the best you can. You know what I mean? So to try to make it feel like a solo game. So now that we've done that, the next step in the sequence of play is about the Mexican reserve units. But like I said, we've already done that. I think that was turn 3 that those units came in. So then we move on to the Texan player turn. So we start off with the Texan movement phase. Um, this is where we're going to decide what the hell are we going to do with these Texan units. And I think one of the things we're going to do, maybe I save that one there. I feel like I want to have, I feel like I want to stick this unit right where it is, although he's really, really strong. So this gun is a 7. This unit itself, its strength is a 10. Because the guns have unlimited range, though, I feel like I want to keep one of them armed just because then it'll give me a chance to take shots at people far away. I could move him to that gun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, because even if they do start here, they're still out of range of just the unit himself. So all of the Texans, all of the Mexicans, they have a movement rate of 8 spaces. So what we have here is we have a gun ramp, and basically with that gun ramp, it negates any value of kind of climbing down off of a wall, basically. So I'll be able to move off of the wall onto the ground, and it'll just be 1 movement point because of that ramp. If that ramp wasn't there, we'd be looking at an inner wall, which would mean an extra 2 movement points, basically to climb off of here back onto the ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this Texan unit. So that's 1. He's going to enter this zone of control, though, but maybe that's okay. Maybe he stops over here so he can take a shot at this guy. I don't want to enter the zone of control, because if I enter the zone of control of an enemy, or I can go inside here, actually, and out that door. Because if I enter the zone of control of an enemy, I'm going to have to use my melee strength, which in this case is only a 2, and this guy is a 6. So you don't want to get into hand-to-hand combat with the Mexican units. So maybe I'll go 1 there, 2, 3, and then for a doorway, it's an extra 1 point. So 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to have to go, I'll go 6 to there again, just to stay away from him. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's now inside. So I'm going to put this marker on top of him there. There are gun slits here, but again, your line of sight with the gun slits is very specific. So even though there's gun slits here, I'm going to double check that, but I'm pretty damn sure I can't see him over here just because of him being right against the wall. Oh, comic board, how are you? Woohoo, check this out. Headed to my computer so I can watch this in large screen. Awesome. It's good to see you, man. So he's inside. You've missed a bunch. I kind of ran over the rules, ran over the basic layout of a solo game. This isn't by design a solo game, but it's very, very easy to adapt to a solo game. I'm just starting turn number 5 out of 12 possible game turns. And it's the Texan player's turn. So just to kind of catch you up to speed as to what's going on, the blue chits are the Texan players. The rest of them are the Mexicans. And then up here we have the gun artillery units. What the heck is their name again? The artillery battery. Okay, so that guy's moved inside. So we don't need to worry about him now. So we'll just leave him on that space there. I feel like this guy should start retreating as well too, just to get a little further away from these units. I don't know if he retreats to back here again, then it would give him a chance to take a shot here. So maybe we'll do that. So in this case, it's only 1, 2, 3 movement points. You don't have to move all 8 of their movement points. You can move partial ones. As far as I understand it in the rules, and I'm hope I'm right on this, you can't split up the movement. No, you absolutely can't, because the movement phase comes before the combat phase. So once the movement phase is over, you're done. Then you go to combat phase. You can't then do another couple of movement spots. Right on. There you go. Perfect. Good to have you here. So he's going to retreat to there. I feel like these guys should stay here because, again, they're on top of these artillery units. This one is a strength of 8, but because it has that range of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's the spot where just the military unit would only be able to shoot to before getting penalized. So we'll keep them on top of these artillery units here. We'll put the commander underneath, actually. So we'll keep those guys right where they are. And then for this mess over here, these guys are locked in. They're going to stay right where they are. They're locked into combat. They're sort of holding the line of these units that are coming through. So we'll see how much longer they last. Unfortunately, they're in the line of sight of this guy that's on a gun here. So I feel like I maybe want to pop this guy off, or maybe move this unit over. Is he going to be able to make it though? 1, 2, 3 before he enters the zone of control here. So there's also these guys. I feel like I want to keep one guy on the gun here so he can take shots at a long range. So maybe these guys start moving. So what do we got here? He can abandon that gun and he'll go 1, 2, and then for a doorway was an extra 1. So 2, 3, 4. He'll go there, and then this commander will come out 1, 2, 3, 4, and he'll combine. So the stacking rules, which I don't think I said yet, you can't have 2 of the same units on the same hex, but you can stack 1 commander with 1 military unit. That's the limitation to the stacking. There's some war games where you can stack multiple units up. Not in this one, though. So we moved those guys. They're still far enough away that they're not in the melee situation, but they can still take a shot at this unit that has a commander as well, too. And we'll see what we can do. I feel like I need to clean these guys out of here who are coming up from behind. So maybe these ones don't need to move because they have a clear line of sight. So I don't feel it necessary to move those ones, but we will move this guy. So he's going to come 1, 2, 3 to there. So he can't pass through. Or unless he goes out to there. Church wall. So you're from there. So they can't. So these church walls here. So this is the church space. I should speak while we're doing this. This is the church here. And it has walls that are impassable. So if you're on the outside, you actually can't climb up these church walls. And then some of the interior walls you can't climb up either, which I believe are these yellow ones. So you can climb from the outside in, but once you're in, you can't climb back up the wall to escape, basically. Once you're in, you're in. And so these ones they can't climb up over this wall into the space and then come in through the doors here. So, but I can have a unit here and he can see over the wall to shoot at units. So maybe, what did we have there? We had 1, 2, 3, and maybe he moves 4, 5 into there. So he can kind of start taking some shots here as well too. So as far as line of sight goes for people within the church, I'll have to look that up. I think it's good either way, though. So I don't think I'm going to move any more of the Texan units. I think that's where we're going to stand here. Hopefully you can see that. I really wish there was a zoom on this camera. That would make things really nice as I make a mess of my chits here. Okay, so now that we're done that, we get into the Texan combat phase. So now you'll get a chance to see some of the combat for this game. And like I said, it took me a second to kind of wrap my head around it. Um, as much as a lot is the same in a lot of these war games, sometimes they do modify some rules or change things slightly. So this one has a little bit of a different combat system than I've experienced before. So we'll go through that now. We'll have a look. So the first thing, like I said, to remember is that the military units on their own, they have a limited range of 7 hexes. The artillery batteries, they have an unlimited range. So if somebody was on this one here, he could fire at somebody way across the other side of the board and vice versa, as long as there was line of sight. So in this example, there's a clear line of sight right to this unit here. So if someone was manning it, they could shoot. Now, that's the thing to keep in mind about these units. They have to be manned by a military unit. Mexican units can man them, and Texan units can man them. Texan units have a once per game ability of moving one of these artilleries 1 hex space. The Mexican units, if they get on, if they share the hex space with these units, they can move them and they can move all of them. Obviously, there's limitations to where they can and cannot move. I think it cuts their movement in half, so they can only move 4 spaces at a time. So it is, yeah, let the blood, exactly right. So there is limitations on that, but you can kind of take control of these. So in this situation, we have, let's start with we'll do a couple of different styles here. So this Texan unit is going to fire on this Mexican unit here. So again, just as a recap, just what we're looking at here. I'll bring it up close to the camera. That top number 7 is the morale rating. The middle 7 is its combat rating. And then that 1 is its melee rating. So if they were side by side, they would be using that 1. But because there's a bit of distance, he can fire. So that's that 7. And then for the Mexican units, they only have 1 number. So that number 7 there counts as their combat rating, melee rating, and why do I keep forgetting the terminology? The morale rating. They all have 2 sides. This one has been stepped down from a previous battle, so it started its life out as an 8 strength unit, and it is now at a 7. So we'll just put that back on the board there instead of fighting with focus. So the first thing we need to look for, line of sight. For sure, we have line of sight. What kind of terrain is this one on? It's on clear. So we're going to go to our combat results. It's this final line here. Our Texan unit is a 7, so we're going to find a 7 on the clear line, and we're going to roll 1 die and see what our result is. Let's see if I can get this up in there. Oh. We have a house rule that if it pops out of the dice tray, you have to do a reroll. So what an excellent roll. Not for this case, though, because for the 7 column on a clear breach, if we roll a 6, we get a dash, which means that for some strange reason, even at this very short range, they're terrified. Let's just say that Texan unit is terrified because he completely missed and put a hole in the wall instead because he was shitting his pants, scared. So he missed. What I end up doing, especially in a game like this where there's so many units, I just turn them. Once they've had their turn, I just kind of clock them one direction or another, just so I don't forget that I've actually completed that unit's turn. So again, like with movement, with combat, you don't have to combat with every single unit. In this case, we're going to, though. So here we have an artillery unit of a 7. We also have a commander that's a 3, which is going to give us a bonus. So why don't we go after, we're going to take this unit again with this artillery. We don't need to worry about range. We're looking at line of sight. We're on the upper level, so we can see him, no problem. We're going to go for this unit here that has a commander. So we're going to take that 7 again on the clear breach. So we need a 1 to 5 in order to have a hit. And wouldn't you know it, The beauty of dice games. There's another 6. Those are loaded dice. I need to see another a dealer come down here, please. So again, an unfortunate. That's a big old miss. So we'll do the same thing. The Texans are shit scared. They just don't know what to do. So we'll go to this next unit. We're going to attack the same unit. This one is an 8 strength. So this will give us a little bit more of it'll give us a better bonus if we can manage to hit. Let's use this other one. Let's see if we can get something here. Okay, a 5. So that's good. So on a 5, we get an H, which means that we've hit. So now this unit has to determine how much damage they're going to take. So there's some modifiers that will come into play. In this case, it's the Mexican unit that's defending. So there's going to be a couple of things. Do they have, if they have a, we'll break it down this way. Let's start with the attacking unit. So because the attacking unit has a commander with them, they get to add 1 to the die roll. And that's the only thing that's going to happen for them, which is great. Now we take the Mexican unit. Because there's Mexicans breached the compound, they get to take away 1. So that brings us back down to 0. And because they have a commander with them, they get to subtract another 2. So whatever die roll I get from these 2 dice, I'm going to subtract 2, and we're going to see what our result is. So in this case, it's an 8. Subtracting 2 is a 6. We look at our morale level of the unit underneath, and it's an 8. So we didn't meet it. We didn't get higher than that 8. So in this case, no damage was done. It hit just in front of them. So that's the basics on how combat works. If you have some units that are previously damaged, we'll turn that one sideways with these disorder markers. That's going to give you a +2 to your modified die roll. So you're going to have a better chance of hitting that number and going past it. So that's these 3 units done. Now we'll go here and see what happens. This guy is inside. He's not going to do anything. Why don't we take a long range shot here as well too? We'll see if we can do some damage out of the compound. So this particular gun only has a range or only has a strength rather of 5. We're going to shoot at this unit over here. So we're looking at, again, the clear hex. So in the 5 column, we need a 1, 2, or a 3 for a hit. And we got a 5, so nothing there. There's a C written on here as well. If you roll that C, that's a counterattack. You've missed, and the defending unit gets to counterattack. Again, keeping all the same rules in mind with the amount of hexes and things like that. But in this case, there was a miss. And you can see why the Texans got their asses kicked. They clearly don't know how to fight. So we're going to go to this unit here, which is a 9 strength, and he's going to go against the 8. Same thing, he's shooting into a clear hex. So here we go. Now we've got something. So a 9, we had a die roll of 2, which means we're going to get to add 3 to our die roll. So this guy is hopefully going to take some damage here. The other modifier that's going to come into play, again, there's Mexicans in the compound, so that 3 is going to become a +2. We subtract 1 for that. So we got an 8 plus 2 is a 10, which means that we're 2 points over the morale rating for this Mexican unit. This Mexican unit is an 8. So that means we go to our table here. If we exceed the unit's morale by 2, the unit takes a step loss and is disordered. So it flips over to its 7 side, and we put a disorder marker on it as well too. So now it means if we had another unit that could fire on it, there would be that extra modifier. Unfortunately, due to line of sight rules, we don't. So 1 hit for the Texans. Good work. Next, we're going to go to this unit. So we have to use the melee strength. So even though he's sitting on a gun that has a 7 strength, in this case, we're only going to get to use the 1 strength. The 1 strength doesn't show up on our table. So that means that we can't actually roll. So he doesn't have strength when it comes to this. It's just going to be an automatic miss. Again, it's that element of they're really close and kind of panic setting in with these units, where you get those kind of results. And we're going to have the same result here because it's a 1 for its melee, so nothing is going to happen there. And then we're going to go to this unit here. What do we have underneath? We've got an 8. So we'll take a shot at this commander here. So an 8 strength into a clear. Ideally, we'd love a 1 or a 2. We got a 4. So that gives us a die roll of 1, 2, 3, 4. Gives us a die roll and a bonus of 1. Because we have a commander, it gives us another bonus of 1. So that's a +2. -1 for Mexicans being in the compound. -2 for a commander being there. So we're at a -1. Oh, natural ones. There isn't in some of the games I have. They do have a natural 1 table. I think I'm thinking like Sea Evil, one of the Nate and Cruz games. There's a natural 1 table that if you roll it, there's an effect that will happen to you. There's nothing like that in this one though. So we didn't again completely shit the bed there. So we'll turn those guys, move those guys over there again. And we're going to take a shot with this unit right against this one. All there is that small wall in front of us, which isn't a barrier to our line of sight. And he's on a clear hex, and we're in the 9 column. So a 1, 2, or 3 would be fantastic. And we got a 3. So that gives us a +2 minus the 1 for them being in the compound. So we still have a +1 for that unit. And we got a 10 + 1 is 11, which is well beyond its 7 rating. So that means it's an automatic loss. So this one will go into the, when it's that dramatic of a hit, it's eliminated and goes into the 3 column here for the Mexican replacement track, which just means it's going to take it a little bit longer to come back out onto the board to be able to attack. If it was in its pardon me, full strength, it would come into the 2 column. I believe that's right anyway. So yeah, that one's gone. So good for us. And then let's see what we got here. We're on a gun that's a 9. And this guy is a 7. So we're going to use the gun in this case because it's more than enough away. It's not right beside us. So that 9, and again, we're going to hope for a 1 or a 2 would be fantastic. Definitely not a 6. So a 6 again is a miss. And there you have it. So that's the Texans trying desperately to defend themselves at the very end of their existence here and completely failing. So once the combat phase is over, the rally phase happens. So if there was any Texan units that that were disordered, that had disordered markers, or were rerouted, we would take those markers off of them and they'd be back to whatever strength side they were on. So if they were on their higher or lower, in this case, we don't have any Texans that have been disordered. No. So we're good. This guy is just inside, so we don't need to take that out. So that's it for the Texans' turn. And then we'll just kind of turn these back here. And then the next step is basically going through the same for the Mexicans, where I'm sure we're going to see some bloodshed. So we'll play through that turn, and then we'll kind of call it quits there. This is just always just make me think of being in the chaos of a battle and having to try and load a musket with black powder and all that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And all the carnage around you, 100%. Just that sheer panic of they were kind of far away and you felt like you had a chance. Now they're at the walls. They're actually inside. So you really feel this is their last kind of dying effort to kind of stay alive. So absolutely agree with you. It's frustrating rolling those though. Goddamn dice. So let's see. So the Mexican player turn, the Mexican reserve commitment phase, which again we did earlier on. I won't go through that again. The Mexican movement phase. So now they get the same thing. So again, they get to move 8 spaces as well too. So we'll see where we want to go. These ones are going to stay locked in. I am going to bring these from back here, and they're going to start getting at the wall here. They might actually come through the doorway here. Let's see how close they can get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that fence, that wooden wall, it's an extra 1. So they can only make it up to the edge of that wall there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He'll go there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He'll go there. This is a dried up stream, and there's no modifiers for that. It's just marking the terrain there. So we moved those closer here. I think this guy wants to get into a little hand-to-hand combat here. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to position him on this side, though, so he can not be too well. Or actually, maybe I should position him here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's position him right here. So that way they can't shoot at him from up above. So I'll put him in combat there. So this has a strength of 8. I feel like I'm just going to keep these guys up on the roof here. Maybe string them out along here so we can start taking shots here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to come up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's bring these 9s in. So this is still another 4 movement points because he's finishing scaling the wall. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we'll bring this guy close. Maybe he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe he goes 5 and mans the artillery battery there. So that's those units moved. Let's bring these guys in. Maybe they'll kind of head for this space on the wall and start getting ready to climb the wall here. Maybe I should move these guys up the wall. So it's 4 to climb up to the wall here. So 4 spaces there. So they're on top. This guy's inside. And then to climb down. Interesting. Well, actually, there's the gun. No, that's the turrets there. So do they stay on the wall? Then yeah, they must have to stay on the wall. They can't climb off that wall on the inside unless they go down these ramps. So we'll leave him there, and we'll bring this guy up as well too. Because if he enters this hex, he's going to be locked into combat there. We'll bring these guys up over here to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll bring him in here. We'll bump this guy forward. This one forward. Leave the rest of those where they are. Now we'll figure out what we're going to do with these units. So these ones can actually move the guns down into the compound. I don't know if it's beneficial, though, because these are pretty damn strong units. They're 10s, 8s, and I think these guns are 7s and 8s. So there's not much benefit. It does slow them down to a crawl. They can only use half of their movement points. So they'd only be able to move 4 spaces. So why don't we just keep advancing these guys here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. We go 4 to there. I want to make sure that each of them has a good line of sight so we can really attack these guys here that are on the guns. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's keep him there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's keep him there. So we get kind of a little bit of an option here. And then we'll bring up the rear with some of these other guys, maybe these 10 and 8 strength. So again, coming down this platform, it's just a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This guy's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. Let's bring him there as a 7 because he's a strong one. Let's get this other 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's get this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tuck him in behind there. These guys are going to keep climbing the wall. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then this guy is another 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because they went down those ramps there. Which I'm assuming if you can bring guns down the ramps, you're going to need people on those ramps as well too. So that's my thought process behind that movement. Term fish in a barrel is coming to mind. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's pretty much over here for them. We'll see what kind of damage. We'll see what kind of die rolls we get here. So I think we'll call that good for movement. And then we'll see what we can do next here. So next is the combat phase. I'm going to start with this one here, this kind of hand-to-hand combat. My hope is that we can get this guy out of the way, toot sweet, and then have a clear line of sight for these two. If they can't get clear line of sight, then at least they can start maybe shooting this direction, seeing what they can hit this way. Yeah, they can always shoot that way. So let's try this one first. So his melee strength, like I said, is the same and it doesn't change. So it's a 6. So he's attacking into an open, a clear area. So we're on the 6 column. We need a 1 to 4. We don't want a 5 or a 6. And there we go, a 6. So I'm glad to see these hot dice are still smoking hot. Let's make them live on 3s and 2s for a little while so they get used to that. So that's a big old miss from this guy. So we'll go for this 8 unit, the same thing. In this case, we're looking for a 1 to 5. And we get a 5, which just gives us an H result. So just gives us a hit. So no modifiers other than the Mexicans being in the borders. So we have a +1 to the die roll. There's no commander with this unit. So we just get a +1. And we'll see what we get here. 5 + 1 is 6, plus another is 7. So that matches his rating of 7 there, his morale rating of 7, which means that there's no damage to him. So we just grazed him. We'll do the same for this next 8 unit on the exact same one. In this case, we get a 1. So that's fantastic because that's a +3 and our regular 1. So +4 to our die roll. So I have a good feeling about this one. And there we go. 11 + 4 is 15. That means we're well and above what his morale rating is. He's dead. He's gone. We've taken him out. So these ones have fired. We'll turn them sideways. Now we'll start chipping away at these guys up on the platform here from this distance. So again, this is where this table comes in really handy. I'm not sure if you saw this one already, Matt, when you came in. Yeah, I love 6s. This is kind of our line of sight. I just want to confirm. So for example, this is kind of the situation that we're in right here. So unit H looking up at unit K. Over here, we have unit H looking up at unit K. Clear. It's telling me that it's clear. So it's good just to kind of confirm that I'm not crazy, right? This little bit of a lip that's coming, is that blocking anybody? But according to this, they have line of sight. So these units have line of sight to these units up on their little platform here. Because they have, he's got a 3 combined with him and he's got a 1. I think maybe we're going to take this unit that has a commander so we can get that bonus. It's a 9 already. So they're going to fire against this one. So the 9 column. So up, even though they're up on a platform, there's an interior wall, which is this yellow. So we're going to be looking on the inner wall line here. So we're going to go down to 9. So we need a 1 to 5 for a hit. And it's a 2. So inner wall, 9, 2. That means we get to add 1 plus the rating of the 1 here, plus the bonus of the commander. So that's a plus 5. But in this case, we're going to be subtracting 3 because he's stacked with a commander as well, too. So that's only going to be a plus 2, which is still great. We'll see what we do. Our magic number is 9 that we're trying to get higher than. So a plus 2 to this die roll. If it's not 6s, it's 1s. This is some unbelievable rolling you're seeing here. So that's a 4. So nothing happens to that guy. We'll turn this guy sideways. I swear to you, this isn't CGI. I think in this case, I feel like we should keep attacking this guy. We have another commander here. He's only a 2. And there's an 8 unit under him. So we'll give that a try. Again, we're looking for a 1 to 4 this time. And there's a 4, so that's a hit. So that's 2, 3. So just a plus 1 this time. Sorry, no, a 0 modifier. So just whatever our die roll is. A 5, so nothing there. Turn that guy sideways so we know. Now we're in a situation here. What has this guy got under him again? He's got a 7, but he's 1, 2, 3. He's only 4 hexes away with his 8 strength. So he could just fire at this guy, which is what he's going to do. He has the 1 underneath him there. So an 8 strength interior wall, a 1 to 4. There's a 1. There we go. What did I say? An 8 strength. So we get a modifier of 1 plus the other one for the Mexicans minus the 1 for his commander. So we're doing a positive 1. So a plus 1 to our die roll. Our magic number is 9. 2 1s. This is unbelievable. So we'll turn that guy sideways. And we'll take another shot here from this number, this 9. I just need to reverse these die rolls here. So we get a 2, which gives us a plus 1, plus 2. So a plus 1 on this roll. So that's a 10. So there we go. So we hit him once. So he gets a disorder marker put on top of him, which means that's going to give us a bonus of 2 modifier next time. So we'll turn that guy sideways. We'll take a shot right away again with the next number 9 on the line on the wall there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's just a hit. So it's plus 2 for the disorder, plus 1 here, minus 1. So we're doing a plus 2 on our result. And what was it? We were shooting for a 9, right? Yeah. So a plus 2 is what we're looking for. 2 plus 2 is 4. I've never rolled so many double 1s in my entire life. I'm really going to, yes, I'm really going to do this. We're switching out a dice, baby. It's truly unbelievable. Okay, so that unit is done. We're going to just skip on to the next 9 unit. Oh, house rule. Number 2. So that's a plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, minus 1. So We're just going to do a +2 to this roll again. 5 plus 1 is 6, 7, 8. So we got an 8 that time. Nothing happens there. Turn him sideways. Now we've got an 8 unit. So we're looking at a 1 to 4 again. And we got a 5. Okay, so here's something that we haven't had before. So this result gives us a counterattack. So that's what we're going to do. So now this unit is going to have an opportunity to do a counterattack. So that means that there's no damage done to it. We've finally pissed off this unit enough where it's going to take a shot back at us. So we'll just reminder, I'm just going to lay everything out here so we can see. So he's on an 8. He's got a 9 already. So I don't think we're going to do anything with that. We'll use his unit because they're 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes away. So same thing. This guy, there's an interior wall. So we're looking at a 9. And you just do the battle in reverse. And it could come to a counterattack situation. It hasn't happened to me yet, but you could get multiple counterattacks back to back. So basically just kind of keeping the turns going back and forth till somebody finally has a hit or a miss. So a 9 on an inner wall, we're looking for a 1 to 5. We got a 2 in this case, which gives him a +1, plus the 1 of the commander, -1. So we've got a +1 to our die roll. 4 plus 1 is 5 and is 6. That unit is an 8, so no damage done. Everybody gets to live another 5 minutes. We'll put the disorder marker back over there. We haven't taken a shot with these 10s over here, so let's try with the 10s. I was hoping that those 10s would be able to go against this one, but let's try to clean this guy up. Excuse me. So, a 1 to 5. We've got a 2. Gives us a modifier of +2. +1 is 3. -1 is 2. Sorry, +2, +2, +1. So it's a +5 total, subtracting the 1 for the commander. So now we get to add 4 to this die roll. So that's a 9 for this die roll. So we've matched it, which means that nothing happens. You have to beat it by 1 at least. So that's that 10 unit. We'll do the same thing again. 6, which again gives us a big old miss. For something that should have been a Slaughterfest, it's really not looking like that. So what else do we have here? I don't feel like I want to waste time using that 8 unit attacking on him. Although, I mean, at this point, it's almost just worth it just to see if we get lucky here. So let's see. A 1 to 4 will give us something. So there's a 4 for a hit. We -2 to the die roll because the commander here is a 3. This is a little bit of questionable. So you're supposed to draw a line from the center of the hex to the center of the hex, and it can't pass through any other one. It's on a bit of an odd angle. I could probably make the argument that that's sort of there, but I can't quite say. It feels like this one is kind of creeping in on it. So to be fair in this situation, we'll just do that. So it's a -2. So we got a 9, so that's a 7. So nothing there. So that keeps everybody else in this back line unable to do anything. All these guys have attacked. This guy is inside. These guys are outside. There's no gun slits. They can't see through the door. Well, they could sort of see through the door, but no, I'm not going to gamble with that stuff. So now we're at these situations here. So because it's this melee, we'll see what happens here. And these are a little bit weaker units. This only has a morale of 5, for example. So maybe we have a bit more of a chance here. So we're going to take the 6 unit, and this is an outer wall, correct? A wooden wall. Wooden wall, sorry. Here we go. So a 6. We're looking for a 1, 2, or a 3. We got a 4, which is a counterattack. And because it's the melee, this unit is only a 1 strength, so there's no result for that on here, so it's nothing happens there. So he goes, this guy is a 9, the same thing. A 1 to 5 will get us a result. So there's a 4, which gives us just a hit. So a modifier of 1. So we get to add 1 to our die roll here. And it is a 10, and this unit is a 7. So we beat it by 3, which if it exceeds the unit's morale by 3 or more, the unit is eliminated. So there we go. We got a result. So that unit is eliminated, which has now opened up a space here. Now we can kind of move through this hex over the fence here and get into the compound, get some more people, get some more Mexicans in now that we're out of the zone of control there. So those guys turn. Nobody else really has. These guys here have clear line of sight. They're 7s. They're on top of the roof. What's the results there? Inner wall, 7. I'd have to get a 1 to 3. Let's go for it. Hey, look at that. The time that I want a 1 is perfect. So 7. So we get to add 1. Plus the 2 there, so it's add 3, plus them, that's add 4, subtract 1. So add 3 to this die roll. So we're looking for a 10, 11, or a 12. Sorry, what did I say? 2, 3, 4, so add 3. A 7. Oh, just excruciating. There you go. So turn that guy sideways. This is clear line of sight for sure, because they're right in line with each other. So same thing. A result of 1, 7. So that's an add 1, add 2, add 3. So it's just going to be an adding 3 again. 7 plus 3 is 10. So that beats it by 1. So it would make it disordered. I can't remember what happens on this. If it moves to, if it's already disordered, maybe it has to retreat. Let's just see. Let's see here. Combat results. So a unit that is disordered and which receives a second disorder result is rooted and must retreat 3 hexes. So he's going to have to retreat 3 hexes from the person that was shooting, which means that his only way down off of here is down this ramp. So he's going to have to abandon the gun and move 3 hexes away. So 1, 2, 3, which puts him right in the middle of all the rest of these Mexican units coming up the rear here. Not a fantastic result, but it's a result anyway. And I feel like that's about all that I can do with the Mexican units on this turn. Gunpowder was wet. Snake eyes and boxcars. Appears both sides gone into some of the whiskey barrels. Yes, absolutely. I've never seen rolls like that before. That's an unreal amount. So anyway, I think we'll probably call it quits for the live stream with this one. Thanks a lot for hanging out there, Matt. It was good to see you. I hope you guys enjoyed this if you're watching it later. Like I said, there's not a lot of videos about the Alamo game on YouTube, and only Callendale has a couple of videos listed on Board Game Geek. So I thought it was a good opportunity to shed some light on this game. I'm kind of like with everything, I'm back into a phase of I've been wanting to play a game for a little while here and break out some of the war games again. So I may revisit some that I played before. There is a couple on my shelf. One called City Fight that I still haven't tackled yet. It's kind of like a battleship style war game. Each player has a map and counters, and you hide it from the opposing player, and you're kind of hunting for each other within this little cityscape, inside and outside. So that might be kind of fun to play with my son. So maybe we'll tackle a new one. But there it is. That's the Alamo. Appreciate you showing it. Thanks. Bring more of these on. I'm going to look into this game. Yeah, it's well worth finding. I found it. We have a gaming convention that happens, or it used to happen. Obviously, with the pandemic, it went to online. One of the things that they did was they had an auction part of the night, and this one I think I got for about $10. The box was beat to hell, really dished. All the components were there, though the map was still intact. So. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'd love to. That's a really good idea, actually, Matt. That Comancheria, it's an unbelievable game. I may have some videos. Have a look in my back catalog here. I wonder if I did some videos on it, but I don't mind setting that up again. That's a fantastic, fantastic solo game. And that's one that's meant to be a solo game as well, too. So I'm more than happy to pull that one out again and do a stream. Right on. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll talk to you. We're going to be around this Sunday. It sounds like it's just going to be me and Damien. So, Matt, I'll send an email out to you and for the Love of Comics. If either or both of you want to join us, I'll make sure that email goes out. Okay. Talk to you later, everybody.